Welcome, everyone. I am Tim Arnson. I'm the CEO of the Port of Kennewick. I'd like to thank you all to come out to the event today. It's a really amazing day, and it's a really amazing crowd we have here. And one of the things I want to do is try to not have feedback. Try to keep our remarks brief because we have quite a full program today. Seeing the number of people turning out today just does my heart good. It shows that this community in our region really does cherish our waterfront. And you're going to hear a lot about the 1135 project today. And that's just some coded messaging from the Corps of Engineers. What it really means is shoreline restoration. So you might hear some 1135. You know how the federal agencies like their acronyms and things like that. But it's really a shoreline restoration effort. And as I've been working through all of the remarks that have been prepared for me by my team, just thinking about what really is meaningful is the fact that what I take away from today is this project is the best of the best. And I'll tell you why I think that, just my own personal viewpoint. There's something in it for people. Okay, there's something in it for restoration of the environment, and there's something in it for wildlife. And whenever we can do something like this that hits all three of those, it really makes me proud, because a project that is just one of them is good in what it does. But just look at what we've done today. We've put in some pathways. We've restored the shoreline. You'll hear more about that. When I was walking around prior to the event today, I saw the Canada geese with the babies. I saw some mallard ducks out in one of the planter beds. You look around and you see the wildlife is returning, and that makes me proud. And I know that as we were still working on the project, we had some of the local birders that were coming out here, and they're pretty excited about what they were starting to see. They saw a peregrine falcon, and we saw a tundra swan out here in the little embayment. And for a lot of us, we haven't seen tundra swans here for a long time, but the critters are coming back. And I think that's a big part of what we've done today. And some people will say, no, I like the pathway because I can walk with my grandkids or whatever. So hopefully you find some things that you like out of this. But for me, it's a very special occasion today because we've done something that captured a little bit for everybody. What I want to do before we get going too far into this is tell you I'm a little bit nervous today, seeing all these people here. So I stopped in at a local business on my way out here, and one of the young men in there says, well, Tim, what are you up to today? So I explained I had a presentation in front of a lot of people, and he said, can I give you some advice? I said, yeah, please. He said, screw up early. So I'll try to do that. Want to introduce my port team, not by name, but just port people. Would you please stand up or put your hand up in the air? Got a bunch of them here. And, I've always said this, that they don't work for me, I work for them. And it's true because, as we all know, it's the folks that really do everything that make the other folks look good. And my port team is the most important part of the port, other than commissioners, of course, and I'll get to them in a minute. But I do want to thank my port team. Tana Bader in Glima, she's in the back, and for those of you that know Tana, she is the mastermind of all these events. She gets everything put together. It's a Herculean task, and she has to try to keep me on track. So I really want to say thank you to Tana. Not only has she put this event together, but she was our contact with the Corps and the tribes for 15 years on this project. It did take 15 years, but good things take time. So Tana, thank you for that. Now here's part of the job that really is the toughest part, is where I call out the elected officials. And it's tough because we try to get everybody listed. I got a paper here that Bridget on my team was able to go around and try to get all the electeds. So I've got the challenging task of introducing the electeds, and there's always some folks that we miss, but it's not intentional. So I'm going to start with the most important elected officials, the port commissioners. We have Skip Novakovich, Ken Hohenberg, and Tom Moak. They're up front. And then I guess I should have said this, while I go through the others, let's hold the applause till the end, if you would please. So I'm going to kind of rapid fire through these, just kind of give a quick shout out to some of the other electeds. And remember, it's not intentional if I miss somebody. So let's start with Benton City. We have Mayor Linda Lehman that is joining us today. From City of Kennewick, we have Mayor Bill McKay. We have Councilman John Trumbo, Councilman Chuck Torelli, Councilman Jim Milbauer, and I'm sorry, there's a name at the bottom. Oh, Gretel Crawford, one of my favorite council people. Gretel, I'm sorry, but yeah, Gretel's down there. From Port of Benton, we have Christy Rasmussen. Port of Pasco, we have Vicki Gordon and Jean Reichman, commissioners. From the Benton PUD, we have Commissioner Lori Sanders. And then from the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation, we have Vice Chair Aaron Ashley, and you'll hear a little bit from Aaron a little bit later in the program. We have Toby Patrick. We have Lisa Gunwallace, sorry. And we have Lindsay Watchman, she's their general counsel. From the Yakima Nation, we have Christopher Wallahy and Casey Mack Wallahy. I know we have some others, and I'm sorry I didn't get your names, but there's a gentleman there. State reps, we have Raquel Crowley. She's representing Senator Patty Murray here today. Dallas Parr representing Congressman Newhouse. And from the Corps, we have Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works, Jamie Pinkham, and you're going to hear a little bit from Jamie a little bit later in the program. We have Commander of the Walla Walla District, Shoreline Kingslack, and you're going to hear from her. And Benton County Commissioner Michael Alvarez. So those are the notes I've got. Let me ask, are there electeds that I inadvertently missed? Sure. Nathaniel Pinkham, Yakima Council. Thank you very much. Others? Please, a round of applause for all of our elected officials. Thank you very much. So now I have the distinct pleasure of announcing the presence of Army Lieutenant Colonel retired, Port Commissioner, President of the Port Commission, Skip Novakovich. Skip is going to introduce a couple of our tribal partners, and then he's going to lead us in the pledge. So please welcome Skip Novakovich.
Well, now I'm nervous too, seeing all those people. Thank you, Tim. It's a pleasure and an honor for me to be here today to join all of you in this celebration of the completion of the 1135 project, or the North Shoreline of Clover Island. This project, as Tim said, was a long time in the works, and even though he mentioned this, I'd really feel it's appropriate to recognize the dedicated staff members of the Port of Kennewick, and I'd please like them to stand or raise their hand, particularly our CEO, Tim Arnson, and as Tim said, Tana Bader and Glima, who's worked on this project since he came to the port in 2008. If you could give them a round of applause, I'd really appreciate that. But this project couldn't have been completed if it wasn't for some of the partnerships that we developed along the way, and I'm especially proud of a mutually beneficial partnership that we established with the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation. We did this through a memorandum of understanding that I had the privilege of signing with then Chair Les Minthorn. Since that time, our understanding and our friendship between the port and the CTOR has done nothing but greatly increase. Just as one example is the partnership with the CTOR helped the Port of Kennewick achieve the permits that we needed for this project. So right now it's my privilege to introduce to you Aaron Ashley, the CTOR Board of Trustees Vice Chairman, and Toby Patrick, CTOR Board of Trustee Member, and I'd like to welcome them up here. If you could give them a round of applause and welcome them to the Port of Kennewick. As we pledge our loyalty to the American flag that represents the commitment and dedication of our founding fathers, And as each of us as American citizens, please join me in reciting those 31 words that affirm the values and freedom we enjoy living in this country, where we will be shown justice and liberty under the care of God, and together we will not be divided or overcome. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and you may be seated as I invite CTR Vice Chairman Aaron Ashley to offer his comments.
This is your big old paper clip.
Oh, I think that was laying up here.
Oh, yeah. That's a mega.
Yeah, really.
It's a pretty big paper clip. Thank you, Skip. Thank you, Tim, and the rest of the folks from the port. It is my understanding that this marks the 10th year anniversary of the memorandum of understanding that the tribe and the port has with each other. Thank you for that. We really appreciate working with you folks. We have to excuse the sunglasses. I have contacts that are very sensitive to the sunlight and the wind, so I'm going to keep these on if nobody minds. Just a little bit of history about our tribe as far as it relates to our tribe, the Confederated Tribes of Umatilla. We're standing within our ceded, what we call our ceded territory, our usual and accustomed areas where we fish, hunt, gather, trade, etc. This land in this area here holds a lot of history. We like to say that our ancestors' bones and blood are in the soil here, and we do everything that we can to take care of it. You know, many years ago, my counterpart, my partner there, Toby, and I, we were in cultural resources together, and we got to survey all these lands on both sides of this river, and even up the Snake River. So we have knowledge of all archaeological sites, etc., that are near and dear to us as tribal people, as well as the fish and all the aquatic species, the lamprey. We call them kasuyas, which speaks to the reason that we're here. I didn't necessarily want to call it a beautification, but it kind of is, really. The pathway that you guys have here and the restoration on the stream sides, the banks, like was mentioned before, about all the bird species, etc., that are returning. That you folks that are here day in and day out, you get to see that, and that's a testament to your work, and that means a great deal for all of us. We look years and years ahead in our planning, our foresight, the decisions that we're going to make for not only our people, the resources that we depend on, the water being the most important resource to us, to all of us, to all the life on this land. Our life would not exist without water. And we're dependent on this water, the salmon. And we try to do the best that we can while we're here on this land to make decisions that are going to benefit our generations that we'll never, ever meet. People that we're going to have come after us that we'll never meet. We'll be gone. And that's a really good feeling for me, to be able to say that I wake up every day and I try to do something beneficial and positive for not just myself and my family and our people right now, today, but generations, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, that I'm never going to meet. And that's okay, and that's good. Without getting too far into the weeds and getting super, emotional about it, I just want to thank Skip and all the folks that showed up today. I did not realize that it was going to be this many people. That's awesome. I think that speaks volumes to all the work that you guys have put into this over the years. And I remember when this island was first being constructed, I was a monitor in the cultural resources program for our tribe, and I got to stand out here hours and hours every day and monitor the construction activities. So I get to return here 10 years after our MOU was signed and speak to all you great folks, and I get to see my good friend Skip. So thank you again. I don't want to try and take up too much of everybody's time, and Tim and Skip also got to say some of the things that are on my talking points. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time, and enjoy the rest of your, I don't know what you call it.
Well, I got in trouble earlier. I was told I had to move closer to the mic, so we'll see if this is any better. Vice Chairman Aaron Ashley, thank you very much for your kind remarks. I do have to point out that Toby was here May 12th, 2011 for the first phase of this shoreline stuff. So Toby, thanks for hanging in there with us. Want to offer just a few brief remarks, talk a little bit more about the partnership with the port, the Army Corps, the tribes, the public, the folks that vote for port commissioners. You know, this is really a collaborative effort, a team effort, and like Aaron says, it's really neat to see all the people that have turned out here today, showing that it is very important to our community. We do have to talk a little bit about the recent history. Part of the reason why we're here today is to remediate. Things changed in 1954 when McNary Dam was built downstream. It changed the river from a free-flowing river, one that was wild, that would be docile at times and raging at times. It's now changed into a lake, a reservoir, an impoundment. Some of that has contributed to some of the erosion that this island saw. It was 160 acres back in the old days when the river was free-flowing. It's now, this island is 16 acres because of the rise in the water level with the impoundment. Our community essentially turned its back on the river. Remember some people remember the flood of 1948. You can see pictures of it downtown. That was one of the things that likely contributed to the taming of this section of the river. Some of the other things that would happen is when construction contractors would have loads of concrete that were excess, they'd dump it down the banks. Many of you probably remember that. You'd look over the bank into this beautiful river and you'd see concrete just haphazardly dumped down the banks. It was unsightly, and then there was erosion underneath it. It was unstable. Created habitat for bass, which bass are predatory on salmon. So there was a lot of things that happened over the years. And I want to say it again, our community turned its back on the river. A lot of the development moved inland. And Skip has a good friend, late Professor Peter Batchelor, that came here to help our communities with planning. That was the first thing he said. He was all the way from North Carolina, and he said, I think I got an idea for you. You guys have turned your back on the river. And it was about 2005-ish when here at the port we started to get renewed interest in revitalization. We worked with the city. I remember we made many trips down to Pendleton area, Mission, to talk with our friends at the Confederated Tribes to try to create an alliance of people that could work together. And when you do projects like this, they do take a lot of partnership and collaboration. And over the years, we got 4 letters of support from the Confederated Tribes, and we thank you for that. Because those letters, the support from the Confederated Tribes, frankly, were the catalyst that we all needed to move this forward. It wasn't anything that we could do without their help and assistance. And I just want to remember one thing that one of the elders said a couple of years ago when we were out here for an event, Les Minthorn. I got to speak in front of Les, and I talked about how we were partners. And then Les comes up, and first he says, Tim, I want to take you to task because you took a bunch of the things I was going to say. But then he said, Tim, you talk about partnerships and friendship. He says, we're kind of like family. And when Les Minthorn said that, it really touched me. So there's some history, and there's a lot of history that goes way, way back, but we're here to try to correct some of the things that were done, and maybe at the time we thought they were the right things to do, and today we think this is the right thing to do. So I don't want to dwell too much on the history. I do want to spring a new idea on the public. There's a pond over that way. It's between where we're at now and the wine village that the port has put together, the area with the food trucks. And it's remnants of the old shoreline. When the levees were built, it became a pond. It's beautiful, but it needs a little bit of help to get some algae in it in the hot summer months that can be detrimental to the environment. It has some negative impact. So maybe we're not done. Maybe there's another chapter for us, but I'll tell you where everything starts. It starts with our communication with our friends from the tribes to see if this is really a good idea. And if we both think it's a good idea, there's nothing that can stop us. So thank you for that. I now want to introduce a couple other good friends, and you hear me use the term friendship because partnership is too businesslike, and if we only conduct business, we don't get things done. We get things done with friendship. So I want to introduce two people here. Before you come up, let me do a little wee bit of rambling, but I want to introduce two people that are very, very important to us in this community. Jamie Pinkham. Jamie is Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works. He's a Nez Perce tribal member. He's come all the way out from D.C. I think Jamie came out to see me, right, Jamie? That's my version. Jamie, and also want to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Shoreline Kingslack. She's the commander from the Walla Walla District. And these are two very, very important partners for us, not only for the work that we've already completed, but for things that we want to complete in the future for the betterment of our community and our earth. This is, again, the 1135 project, shoreline restoration. For our local community, the taxpayers, you paid 25 cents on every dollar. The Corps picked up 75% of this project, and that is a good leveraging of our local funds. So, that's one of the things your port commissioners look out for is big projects. How do we afford that? How do we share the costs with people other than the taxpayers of our district? So for the Corps, federal government, thank you for your participation. Now I do want to have Jamie and Lieutenant Colonel Kingslack come up and offer a few comments, please.
Lower this a little here. Good afternoon. I want to personally thank everyone who has joined to celebrate the accomplishments that have brought us here today. The Corps has been very pleased to partner with the Port of Kennewick on this important project. This partnership has allowed the Corps to build on the beautiful restoration work that has previously been completed along the causeway via the Port's partnership with the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation. Further recognition is due to the City of Kennewick, Benton County, and the Washington State Recreation and Conservation Office for their contributions to this project. This day signifies nearly a decade of planning and hard work. In 2014, we signed the feasibility cost share agreement. The design and construction phase was initiated in 2019, and then the construction contract was awarded to TDX Power Services in 2021. So now, today in 2023, this project has successfully restored 2,650 linear feet of shoreline, including native riparian plantings, and has created over 1.2 acres of shallow water habitat. The restored shoreline and habitat will provide crucial benefits to ESA-listed salmon. The success of this project represents a positive and mutually beneficial partnership and friendship as we work together to solve regional problems, energize the economy, and serve as stewards of the water resources for the Snake and Columbia River basins and the nation. With that, it's my honor to introduce the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works, Mr. Jamie Pinkham.
Thank you, Colonel. And Tim, thank you. And Tim's right. I'm from Washington, D.C., but if you go up the Columbia River and you take a ride up the Snake and you get to my homeland, Nez Perce country, and what's interesting is that the river and its waters and even its salmon provided a unifying figure that created alliances that exist today, alliances through the salmon, alliances through the water, And the tribes in the Columbia Basin became connected by blood. My younger brother, Nathaniel, Nate Pinkham, over here, serves on the Yakima Tribal Council, and I used to serve on the Nez Perce Tribal Council, but it's that unifying of the river. And it's amazing that this alliance continues today, but it includes more. This alliance, this family now includes port districts, cities, the state, county governments, and the federal government, and even more. So it's an honor to come out back west to portions of where I was raised, to share in, really, it's your success. It's not my success. I'm here to share in your success, and that is a great honor. My boss, Assistant Secretary Connor, has set out 5 focus areas for Civil Works that align with the administration's agenda. And 3 of those focus areas are around the infrastructure itself. Whether it's gray infrastructure or ecosystem-based functions, the natural infrastructure, as well as research and development to help us address some of the most complicated and challenging civil works and water resource challenges ahead for us. But the other 2 focus areas recognizes that at the Army Corps of Engineers, we never get this work done by ourselves. And those 2 focus areas are around partnerships. One is hearing from all the voices across society, even including those voices that are never heard or rarely been heard or unrepresented. And the other one is the strength of our communications to build bridges and to mend those that have weakened. And we saw that being accomplished here. And it's this kind of work that continues to inspire that focus area around partnerships and communications. I just really appreciate, again, Tim, how you characterize this project. Many times we are guided by benefit cost ratios. What's the most economic, desirable outcome we can achieve? But that doesn't measure the health of our children and the joy of their play, their ability to come out and connect with nature and to build healthy lifestyles. And it doesn't account for our love for the natural world. Part of that natural world is even protected by treaties negotiated with the tribes back in 1855. And so we're now taking these projects and not just measuring on their economic benefit ratios, but also we're trying to account for all of society's needs, the health of the environment, as well as how we contribute to justice for communities that have been overlooked. And this is part of the vision that Mike has for the Corps of Engineers. And believe me, Clover Island, you here have shown us that is the right recipe for the path ahead. So let me just say that there's more work that we can do, and like I said, we can't do it together, but together we can deliver the economic, the environmental, and the social benefits to the people we love, the homelands we love, to the places that jointly we do call home. And it's great to be home, and it's great to be with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate your remarks. Want to give a little bit of a shout out to the Washington State Recreation and Conservation Office. Jesse Sims, I think Jesse's here today. Jesse, thank you. He did say that he didn't want to speak, so I don't want to put him on the spot. But we like Jesse because on this project, he delivered $500,000, thank you. He's also been around for the boat ramp project and the restroom, so Jamie, we'll keep your number in our Rolodex. Thank you very much. Appreciate his efforts. Now I'm going to introduce a commissioner from Benton County, but before I do, I want to ramble a little bit more. I'm looking at Toby, and he's kind of nodding here that I can ramble a little bit more. There is something that Benton County has. It's called the Rural County Capital Fund, and it's monies that comes to the counties. It's their money, but they have seen fit to broker that out to local jurisdictions, including cities and port districts, for projects that are deemed worthy, that meet some of the statutory requirements. And Benton County has been really, really good to the Port of Kennewick. They've helped us with the wine village. They've helped us with some things at Vista Field. And through the pass-through of rural county funds, they helped us create that local match. Remember I told you the 25% that us taxpayers had to come up with for this project? Benton County helped shepherd some money through the Rural County Capital Fund. So I just want to give that as a lead in. And I do want to mention a couple staffers over at the county. Jared McPherson, he's their administrative CAO, and Adam File. Adam is one that helps us with these applications because the county commission can't just give us money because they like us. It has to meet the statutory requirements, have to have a well thought out application. So Adam helps us with those, and Benton County helped pass money through for this project. Do want to talk a little bit about the city next because they were a partner with this, but I just want to say your county commission is doing a fabulous job. We appreciate the economic development funds that they pass through. They have faith in the port. They have faith in you people here that these projects are going to be something that they can support. And we are lucky to have County Commissioner Michael Alvarez out here with us today. So Michael, would you come up and offer a few comments?
Thank you, Tim. A few things real quick before I get started. I just got back from some county business out of town, and it is about friendships and relationships and partnerships. I've known Skip. I think I've known you since I was in my 20s, to be honest with you, and look at us now. So a couple things I wanted to go ahead and say is that Benton County enjoys and appreciates the great relationships we've built with the Port of Kennewick over the decades in the areas of economic development, legislative affairs, and community projects. The accomplishments we are celebrating here today on Clover Island is another long line of projects the county has been able to assist with the Rural County Capital Fund program. Clover Island is one of 3 major projects we've been able to work with the port in recent years, the others being across Duffy's Pond at Columbia Gardens and out at Vista Fields. So yeah, Tom, you kind of stole my thunder a little bit.
Sorry.
The Rural County Capital Fund has been critical for moving big projects with our city and port partners, as we regularly are able to make 7-digit contributions toward these endeavors. That's real money, and can often be the difference between whether the project moves forward or not. Benton County has been able to disperse over $14 million toward partner projects over the past 6 years. This is big. The big news coming out of Olympia this week, as of yesterday, the governor signed a bill that would allow us to continue the Rural County Capital Fund program until at least 2054. This will allow Benton County to continue to explore and develop great community development projects with our city and ports for the next 3 decades. With that, congratulations to the Port of Kennewick on your completion of the Shoreline project at Clover Island. This is a great way to kick off the summer. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate your continued commitment. Another great partner, City of Kennewick, and the history between the port and the city goes way back. There's so many projects that the City of Kennewick has helped us with. They've helped us with the wine village just over on the mainland. They've contributed a lot of money to this project out here, the Shoreline project, working with the county through the Rural County Capital Fund. They've helped us up at Vista Field. So there's really not a better partner anywhere than with the City of Kennewick. And we do have the Mayor, Bill McKay, here to offer a few remarks. Mayor McKay?
Well, you know, most of the partnership stuff has been talked about, and you guys have been sitting here for a while, so I don't think, oops, there it is, I lost it. So I don't think you need to listen to my whole talk, but I do want to say this, that, you know, it is something that we can be proud of to work together and make things happen and make things better for the citizens that live here. That's the important thing. That's why we're in office. That's what we're supposed to be doing, and I'm just glad we can get it done. you know, I don't need to take credit because Tim's already given that credit for stuff. And like I said, I don't think you need to listen to everything. But as we gather here today and celebrate this milestone, let us remember the spirit of partnership that has brought us here. Let us celebrate the unity and the collaboration that has paved the way for these remarkable achievements. And that's all I've got to say today, and nice to see everybody here. Thank you.
Somebody was saying how nice it was we were having this little breeze. I'm starting to begin to wonder. We're getting close to the end, and that's a good thing. Do want to offer just a few, shout out to a couple folks that haven't been mentioned yet. John Federoff, he's an engineer. John has one of the best offices. It's right up there, just above the Yacht Club building. And John is a civil engineer. He's been our private contractor, helping us with some the thought process on our end of the recognition of the Shoreline project. So thank you, John. Mike Ritter from Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. Mike has been very helpful. He has a can-do attitude, helped us with improving some of the shoreline here along the shoreline and along Duffy's Pond. Gary Lentz. Gary is a retired park ranger and historian. He helped us with some of the historic panels that we're putting up here. And I do want to talk about one element here that really hasn't been mentioned today, the business community. One of the things that Porch is supposed to do is to try to help businesses a little bit along the way. And I want to thank our businesses out on the island here for being very, very patient. It's kind of interesting when you have a restaurant, for example, and you drive up ready to open the restaurant and there's a huge excavator in your parking lot working on the shoreline. So thank you for all of the businesses here that were very patient with us. We've talked about the benefit for wildlife and people that want to walk the shoreline, but we now have shovel-ready parcels, including this one right here, that we can long-term ground lease to private businesses. So, after all this time, we're now ready for business here. And I know Commissioner Alvarez and Mayor McKay, that's the stuff that they want to see to help build the tax base. That's the stuff we want to see. And we're hoping that, we get more businesses, maybe some restaurants, some other marine-related activities, potentially some housing out here. So, that's the other aspect that we really haven't mentioned, but that's important. This ground is now ready for development. So what I want to say now is, again, the good news is we're getting to the end of this, and you won't have to hear me drone on much longer, but we're going to do a ribbon cutting, and then after that, the event will conclude. So what I've learned is you do the ribbon cutting, and then I come back to the podium, and everybody's left already. So I'm going to say the thank yous and the goodbyes now. We have Rollin' Ice Cream over here, and they're going to be offering some samples. Walk the shoreline a little bit, kind of take a look at some things, and just have a chance while you're already out here, instead of going back to work or going back home or whatever. Take a few minutes here and walk around, sample some ice cream. We are going to do the ribbon cutting, and so we'll start to assemble for that. And at this point, I'm going to rely completely on Tana and other people way smarter than me. The only thing I really know about the ribbon cutting is we have some really cool scissors. They're gigantic. They're gigantic, and I want to grab one of those and take home. So again, please stick around for the ribbon cutting, and I'm hoping people kind of come rescue me so I don't have to start telling jokes here. Please come on over for the ribbon cutting. But again, thank you. And the way I count, I think we had representation from 3 tribes here today. That's pretty cool. We've had, or more, if you, 2, okay. And that's important. It's important that we have a lot of taxpayers in the seats here. And we do understand that when you get your tax bill, it says Port of Kennewick on there, so you're paying $60 a year or whatever for all this stuff. So thank you to the taxpayers. Thank you for the people that aren't in the Port District that come out here and enjoy this. So again, thank you all from the bottom of my heart for showing up and helping us with this event. Thank you.